Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Divergent from the North American server playing in the Tier 8 American heavy tank, the T32. But it actually looks like he's gone to get a cup of tea, but considering he's on the North American server, maybe a Twinkie, maybe a corn dog. Oh, he's back! He's got it all and he's ready to go. Oh dear. News just in, QuickyBaby insults 1/3 of his YouTube subscribers. I'm sorry. I don't know. What? No, this is a serious question now. To all of my lovely American subs, what do you guys go and get when there's been a break in the action? So for me personally, well, not me. This is actually a terrible example. I'm probably one of the least British people ever. I don't drink tea at all. I know. Oh my word. Unsub, unfollow, unsubscribe, undonate, unwatch all of his videos. All of this good stuff, right? Well, I usually just drink water, or I drink water with a little bit of lime squash in it, or sometimes when I'm streaming I do drink horrible caffeinated sugary drinks, but that's just to keep going through 5-6 hours when you're only taking a 3-minute break, right? Oh dear, look, I'm already rambling on and we're not talking about, but yeah, I was gonna say, let me know in the comments what is your favorite snack or drink when you're playing video games. What do you start after a good game? What do you go and grab yourself from the fridge, the larder, the cellar? I don't know. Where do you go and get stuff? I don't have a cellar. I live on a flat on X floor. I'm not going to tell you exactly where. Oh my word. Do you want to get to it? Okay, fine. So today, Divergent is playing in the T32, and this is a vehicle that a lot of people either love it or you hate it. It's like Marmite, right? Oh gosh, mentioning more British kind of things. Well, at least I hope Marmite's British. You know what, the other day when I was streaming, we were talking about Heinz ketchup, and for some unknown reason, because on a bottle of Heinz ketchup in the UK, it says, by appointment to Her Majesty the Queen. So that literally is a seal of approval that the Queen has tomato ketchup. I was going to say drinks tomato ketchup there for a second, but that probably wouldn't be quite right. No, but it's basically saying, oh, it's got the royal seal of approval and all of this. And so I thought Heinz was a British brand. And then I found the other day on stream that apparently Heinz is about as American as this Patriot that we have in front of us now. And so I was bitterly disappointed. But, well, actually not really. What's the problem if something's British? But I did go and warn the Queen, you know, just to make sure that she knew that she was having an American product on her chips. Do you think the Queen has tomato ketchup on her chips? I'm not even sure. Anyway, I don't even know where I'm going with this. What was I even saying? I was talking about the fact that the T32, you either love it or you hate it. Marmite. Okay, I'm going off on a tangent here. And that's because the T32 has a terrible gun. An awful gun. I'd say this is probably more of a tier 7 or a 7.5 gun rather than being a gun that you would want on a tier 8 tank. And that's because the standard penetration is 198. Now that would make sense back in the day, right? Well, actually, it almost doesn't, because the IS-3 has always had about 225mm of pen. And the T32 has always been flagging behind with less than 200. And considering this vehicle doesn't get preferential matchmaking because it's a standard tank, that means that the vehicle truly does struggle. But oh, a good choice of ammunition there, as Divergent loads a high explosive shell that goes right into the top of the Borsig, rolling for 420, and his artillery finishes him off. But while the gun on the T32, it doesn't even have great alpha damage for tier 8. The IS-3, great alpha damage, 390. This is packing 320, although that's not terrible when you look at something like the Carnarvon, right? I keep mentioning these American-British comparisons here. What's up? I'm obviously completely jealous with the state of the economy right now. Oh god, he's brought in politics into a YouTube video. Oh, shut up! Okay, so, I don't even know. Alright. This is going to be, I'm not sure, you're either going to love this video or hate it. I don't know. Well, hopefully you'll like it, right? But the accuracy on this tank is also awful at 0.41. So, yeah, really one of the worst guns on a tier 8 heavy, I would say. You know, even sporting the Carnarvon with levels of awfulness. Even the Carnarvon has really good penetration right on its standard rounds. But the T32 is a massive upgrade over the T29, not because of the gun, but because of the frontal armor. This thing is now packing 127mm at the front of the hull, and it's also quite well angled, as we can see here. And with 10 degrees of gun depression, you're easily going to be able to shoot down on the hulls of your opponents, and so that can make the T32 quite a monster in close quarters combat for opponents that don't have about 225mm of penetration. And even if they do, sometimes you're going to be bouncing off, especially if the T32 is using its depression. But the T32, well, you might be thinking, what is the point of this tank then, right? Yeah, it's got okay hull armor, but it's certainly not incredible. It's got awful gun. Its mobility is far from impressive, but this thing has a monstrous turret. This vehicle has 300 millimeters. At its weakest point, I believe, on the mantlet of turret armor, and most of the cheeks are about 400 to 450 millimeters thick. And so that means if the T32 can hide its hull and only expose its turret, it's probably one of the most powerful tanks in the game if it can penetrate the enemy. I would even go as far to say as, apart from something like an IS-7, this is probably one of the best turrets in the game. Because unlike a mouse, it doesn't really have these cheeks that you can just fire heat at, right? It's very hard to hit the cheeks of the T32, and even if you do, you're still having to get through about like 400 millimeters of penetration. You're going to have a Jagdpanzer E100 gun or have a heat round roll exceptionally high to be able to go through. And also the cupola on this tank is rather strong as well. We're talking about 250 millimeters of effective armor over the front of the cupola, and so that can be a very tricky thing to be able to get through, especially if you're an equal tier tank or lower. And so the T32, terrible gun, great armor, well, at least on the turret, that's how I look at it. And so when I was playing the T32, and it was, I think, the second tier 8 heavy I ever played, it was probably one of the game-changing experience for me to realize what gun depression means. So now Divergent finds himself in a 1 versus 5 situation. The Oho bears down upon him, tracks him, and also does 108 damage, but doesn't receive any in return. The Oho, using the big old derpy gun, needs to turn his tank to the side to be able to depress it, but oh, he fires an AP round? Wow, he's firing an AP with that high caliber gun. I guess he thought he could overmatch the T32, or maybe he could get his side armor and punish him. But Divergent shuts down the first target, but oh word, my word, 2 IS-2 step up now to engage him, and he's getting through the last of his APCR rounds, but looking at the enemy team now, he's not really going to need these APCR rounds, and this is where this tank is just absolutely beautiful. Dealing with tanks with 175 millimeters of penetration, they're going to find it hard to go through the front of this armor, and also the Oho in his death has provided him with a lovely opportunity to shoot over his tank and be able to punish. So the IS-2, realizing that his 175 millimeters of penetration is probably going to be unable to go through the front of the T32, has flanked, fires a high explosive round, but the T29 turns up and shoots his own IS-2, which puts him down low enough on health so Divergent can shut him down. The IS-2 comes around the corner, also misses. The T29 hits him from behind, but Divergent pushes forwards, puts one into the top of the cupola. A great shot. Now look at Divergent's ammo loadout here. He's got 10 armor-piercing rounds and 9 high-explosive rounds, but that shouldn't be too bad because the S51 on the enemy team only has about 350 hit points, so you should be able to take them out with all of these rounds. And with the high-explosive rounds, Divergent is going to show me something in just a second that I had not even anticipated. It looks like he's a bit of a master when it comes to engagements against American heavies. Tries to fire one into the T29. Absolutely no chance he's going to be going through the cheeks of the T29 there. And so now he loads his first high explosive round. And this 105mm gun, 98 damage. Sure, that's not going to be taking somebody out in a high pressure situation very quickly, but 154. He's whittling down this T29, and this is really one of the key differences between the tanks. While the T29's turret is great, it isn't T32 great, and the T29 keeps trying to fire high explosive rounds. Divergent, feeling the pressure here, flicks his mouth back and forth at the frustration of not doing any damage, but the S51 comes around the high explosive round, penetrating his structure there, dealing 345, and Divergent now receiving a penetrating shot from the T29. He is low on health, and the high explosive round rolls for 160. This is some serious damage, but it's neck and neck right now. One shot apiece. Sudden death. Divergent on 7 kills, comes around the corner. Will he be able to hit the high explosive round? Yes, he does! Scores the Radley Walters, 8 kills. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am, taking down a 1 versus 5 situation. So what a round for Divergent here, picking up an ace tanker for 1,948 base experience points. That is a monster result in a tier 8 vehicle. He also picks up the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanos for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, the Radley Walters for that 8th kill on that T29, a steel wall, and boy, what a steel wall, 3,200 damage block. That would be enough to kill his tank 2 times over, even though he was very low on hit points at the the end, and a high caliber for 6,674 damage in a tier 8 vehicle. That is very impressive, and he even manages to make a profit even though he did spank some of the APCR rounds, albeit unnecessarily against the IS-2, but you probably would have needed them against the OHO. So Divergent, congratulations to you on this epic carry, and thank you for uploading it on What Replays for the community to enjoy, and also putting my name in the title so you could get my attention. It was my pleasure to feature the T32 on the channel for the first time, I guess, in about 4 years. And with so many tier 8 premium vehicles flooding the game, it's a pleasure to see a standard tier 8 heavy having a whale of a time. And hopefully all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, due to Cash Point and the 39 people who liked his suggestion, I'm going to be playing through the AMX 30B, because apparently he would like to see it before and after the patch. So come along right now, where I'm going to be playing through the entirety of the French medium tank line, culminating today with the AMX 30B. And if you've never seen one of my Tech Tree Showcases before, it's miniature tank reviews from tier 1 all the way up to tier 10, so you can see if it's a line that interests you and maybe would be worth the grind, or alternatively, if you have all the tanks, maybe you can pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. And also, just a heads up that I will be at Gamescom this entire week, streaming from the Wargaming booth. So come along and I'll try and give you that Gamescom experience without having to go to Cologne. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.